Hello everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Podcast, episode 3. We made it to 3. We made it to episode 3 here. Aloha. It's very nice weather here coming to you from the windward side of Oahu in the state of Hawaii. Wishing everybody a great evening wherever you are, morning, all across this whole place. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit fringy, a little bit on the fringe side. I guess we're going to be talking about life, as usual. Life, death, and reincarnation. Who were you? What were you? What was the message you were given? And do you remember it? So come along. Join our imaginary circus act. Come out of retirement. Open your mind. It's the Everyday Podcast. Welcome. Okay, let's dive right into it here. What do we got? What is it? Where were you? Do you remember where you were before you were? What was it like to wake up having never gone to sleep? And what would it be to go to sleep, never to wake up again? That's an old philosophy. A lot of cultures thought of it. It can be found in many cultures around the world. The reincarnation idea. Birth, death, rebirth, a continuous cycle. Making us part of the larger eternal being. But who were you? Where did you go? Where were you before you were born? People fear death. I think they just fear the interval, really. Fear what's going to happen. Some unknown. People have this idea that they're going to be like locked up in this black void forever, and that's not the case. You don't have to worry about that. That's not going to happen. There can never be nothing. There's nothing like the Monty Python song, always look on the bright side of life. You come from nothing, you're going back to nothing. What do you lose? Nothing. Nothing. But the Eastern philosophy, religions, there's all different cultural significance that have thought about reincarnation. Taoist, Buddhist, Hinduism, this cycle. And it's not a reincarnation. It's not a progress. It's not a linear progression of one life to the next. It's rather a constant cycle of like birth and death and rebirth. And it occurs in the present moment, like as we're moving along. Time was what it used to be. Time is what it's going to be, and time is now. And everything is kind of continuous. So you're born again over and over and over again. That's what the idea in the initial concept of reincarnation is, that you go over and over and over. Born again. Not in the Christian sense of born again, but that's a different kind of born again. But even on the Christian side of it, there was rumors, and there probably were references to reincarnation in the Bible, and it is secular. And when we turn around, sometimes we can think about the metaphoric principles of reincarnation and the biblical stories, and we can see that. Do it again. You get a do-over. It's secular. You know, that's like reminds me of the flower. I heard somebody talking about the flower, the coronation, that even continues to bloom secularly after it's cut from its tree, its bush. It'll continue to bloom. So this spiritual practice of reincarnation, the concept of the idea of the I, is where people get hung up on it. People have problems with it because we have this preconceived, false, egotistical notion of the self that's the ultimate in human arrogance. So we actually think that, like, on an individualistic basis, and it just gets to the point where it doesn't make any sense and it's not productive at all. When you think about it, you have to think on the idea of the all, the many, the different ideas that you come up with when it comes to this idea of to be born again. Like, because I can make two statements for you that can sum it up and get it close to being 100% understandable. Almost, like 99% understandable with two simple statements. I can't talk today. My voice is so dry. It's so bad. It's I feel like I'm talking like I feel like I'm smoking a cigar or something when I try to talk. It's ridiculous. But you make two statements. After I die, the first statement. After I die, a baby will be born into a new body that does not remember its past life. That's a true statement. After I die, a baby will be born into a body and it will not remember its past life. The second statement is almost true. After I die, I will be born into a baby's body and I will not remember my past life. It's the concept of the I. I'm being born. Who am I? Everybody that's ever born every minute is you, over and over again. That's the reincarnation. That's the gist of the reincarnation. That's the gist of what a lot of people think about when it comes to it. It's basically like the person dies, the soul is reborn into a new body. The new body could be human, or some people even believe that it could be animal. And just believe that the soul carries with it the memories, experiences, and karma. The Western philosophies think that it brings on the karma from the previous life, which kind of dictates what kind of second and third and fourth parallel lives do you have. And I do mean that parallel, they can exist at the same time. That's another theory. It's found in many cultures and religions. Like I said before, Hinduism, Buddhism, even Skittism. There's been a number of cases where people will remember, kids will remember stuff about past lives. I've heard of examples of mothers talking to their children and the kid talking about dying on the Titanic, and who knows? Who knows to what degree that's true? I heard of like a 5-year-old kid in Iowa somewhere that remembered being in a squadron, World War II bomber squadron or something. And he knew information that they said that they couldn't possibly have come up with. And it was just extremely odd and scary for the parents and the other people involved that apparently, supposedly, allegedly, were able to confirm these things. So where are you going? Where have you been? What's it all about? We're going to try to get into it and figure it out. Well, one thing that, like, obviously everybody always says there's no scientific evidence to support the idea of reincarnation, life after death. There just isn't. Some people find comfort in their beliefs and stuff, but there's no evidence of anything like that. Although there have been stories of people receiving after death visitations from a loved one, either in a dream or molded into their daily reality somehow in message form. I'm not sure about that. I have heard about that. People seeing butterflies, but the brain's going to equate stuff to the loss automatically, and you are going to see some correlations without even trying. It's another thing to think about. And I oftentimes think about like a lot of the metaphorical purposes or ideas surrounding reincarnation. They would be the idea that in this downturn that you got yourself into, in this area where you're just dropping and you seem to be slippery sloping down into this negative chasm, bottomless pit of hell, you can, throughout the turmoil within the storm, become graced enough to pull yourself out of it at some point. And even if the ultimate price is paid and you lose this life, I use the term life loosely because it has a different meaning once you start to get into the reincarnation. It becomes like, oh well, a life has like a singular condensation around it, you know, a singular meaning, like a life, this one life. You only live once, you only live once. Cats live 9 lives, but people only live once. So once you get away from that life and it goes into lives and then a hive, the hive mentality, you start to think a little bit differently of it. But the metaphoric principle of it is coming to terms with the fact that it could be really bad. It could be so bad, like people dying. It could be tragedy, recovering from tragedy, and malice. Like malice actions that other people put on you and put forward to you. It can just completely destroy you. Well, then you can come up from it, and you can reinvent yourself, reinvent your life, reinvent your situations. If not in this life, the next. Then we have to think about the role of archetypes in reincarnation. Sometimes I like to focus on archetypes, what I believe to be universal symbols, patterns that are deeply ingrained in the human psyche. Archetypes can play a key role in the process of reincarnation, as individuals must confront and integrate archetypal energies in order to kind of achieve personal growth and transformation. Because ultimately from that fall, from that down, from that death, from you're dead and now you're coming back again to life. You're coming back again. You're going to have these things that you're going to remember. These lessons learned kind of that are going to represent themselves in your new life, in your moral day, how you run your moral day with that. And you're going to have this relationship between the previous lives and the learning experiences and the new ones to a degree. And I think that there's a good chance that that's true, because everything that I see in life is kind of secular. I see the dirt falling from the dirt. I'm sorry, like the leaves and the ripened ovaries of an apple tree or an orange tree dropping to the ground and decaying and into the ground, and the birds eating the worms and the worms eating that, and it becoming fertilizer and becoming a tree again. And that whole situation. I always say that whole situation, because that's what life is. Life is just, especially from someone from New York, like I am, like everything becomes a situation. Like, where am I? Am I alive or am I dead? Am I doing good or am I doing bad? What's happening with everything? So you have this archetype, these lessons learned, these symbols that show up again and again in life, kind of pointing you in the right way, and that's what some people consider a evidence for reincarnation, for the multi-life, the multi-experience. And for a lot of people, reincarnation is deeply ingrained in the process of growth, spiritual growth especially. The witnessing of people seeing the light and going into the light, seeing loved ones, seeing Jesus. I've seen a lot of that, or heard of that, people seeing that in a near-death experience, an NDE, as they call it when you almost die. When you F around and find out and you almost die, like, oh, like this is one of the guy drops the car on him. He like dropped the car, like a 1974 Chevy on him because he used an inferior jack. And then he said he seen like lights and angels and stuff. But then he hadn't been a good person, this particular guy. And he remembers these three demons and they're carrying him down this tunnel leading to hell. And he's not that religious, but he only knows the Lord's Prayer. And he'll scream it out and he'll say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. And after each time, like he recited that, like one of the demons would melt in front of him. And then another one would melt and he was able to come back up to life. And he gets up back, he's heading back towards the light, back up the tunnel. And then at that same time, like the paramedics come and they lift the car off of him. And he's not okay, but he's back in his broken body again. And he's hurting and everything. But it supposedly changed his life. And I've heard that it changes a lot of other people's lives. But obviously, because he almost died. It doesn't matter if it was just in your brain or if it was real. It's going to change your life if you almost died. Like if you're one of those guys that's been underwater for 20 minutes in like a frozen river and then they bring you back to life. Yeah, you're never going to be the same again. And then they see stuff and they're like, oh, I met my mother and I met my grandfather and, it could just be your brain remembering it. Who knows? And then we have to look at the ethical implications. The ethical implications. The ethical implications of reincarnation. Does it move against free will? Or can it give you a powerful framework for development? It's like recognizing your actions in one life to lead a better one the next. And you can even look at it from the Taoist point of view of earlier in your life, in your teens, in your 20s, you're in the morning of your life. And when you're in your 30s, you're in the afternoon of your life. But now in your evening of your life, you make better decisions than you did then, and the drive is less significant, less overwhelming as it once was. Because overall, you could be driving on and on and on for all this different materialistic stuff that we want in this world, and you're not really learning. We're all caught up on it. I remember American comedian great Jackie Gleason used to say everybody wanted to get like a nice car and a nice house and a nice whatever, a watch or something. But the sad part is that those nice things kind of lose it after you bought them. They go away and you just don't have it anymore. You don't have that appeal because it's the hunt that we're looking for. It's the chase. It's like a dog will chase a bird, but if the bird's just dead, dog doesn't really care for it too much unless your dog's a savage like one of mine, and then they try to eat it and kill it, or they grab the carcass out of the garbage. That's what the dogs did the other day. Excuse me. I'm drinking coffee because I can't stay up and I can't breathe and I can't talk. Yeah, the dogs, they went crazy. I have two dogs. I have Bella and Buddy, and they got their carcass out, and my wife couldn't get the carcass away from them, and they took it outside and they decided to eat it. So that's one bird that was not reincarnated. It did not reincarnate it. But again, to wake up having never gone to sleep, and to go to sleep and never wake up again. Because like I think about that's from Alan Watts, actually, British philosopher, and he used to talk about that, about how like if you had every opportunity to live your life any way that you wanted it, to live it every night when you went to bed, and you can live 75 years in a dream of 8 hours, and you could always wake up. Initially, you'd want to do all the great things. You'd get the woman. You'd be the hero. You'd have the car, you'd have the big house, you'd have everything that you ever wanted, and you'd strive for it, and you'd get it. And after a while, you'd be able to, every night you go to sleep, you wake up, you dream, you live another 75 years, and you get to be anything you want. And do that enough over the years, do it for 20 years, 30 years, because time is irrelevant at this point. And you would find yourself right here where you are right now, in the room where you are, experiencing what you're experiencing now. Because the predetermined successful outcome would become mundane and foolish. It wouldn't. You have to have the drive for it. That's what it's about. We're driving towards stuff. If it's right there in front of you, you won't play it. If the video game didn't get harder, you wouldn't continue. You always want to win at life, but if it's too easy, it's no fun. The world, the success and everything, it all kind of plays hard to get. And it plays hard to get for a reason, because when you get it, it has to be valuable, because it'll lose it real quick. Take it from me. If you can go out and buy anything you want, it starts to not matter. It starts to not matter at all. One time I did an experiment, and I had a girlfriend, and she had a 5-year-old kid. So every day or every other day, I would take him to the toy store. I would let him buy whatever he wanted. Day 1, he picked a couple of very expensive things. He bought them. Day 2, he picked another very expensive thing. Day 3, one thing here, 2 things there. Day 4, he kind of looked a little shocked. Didn't know what to really do. Picked something out though. Day 5, he didn't really care. He did buy something. Day 6, we went to the store, and he kind of didn't even want to go in. And this is a big toy store in a mall with big things with Batman and everything. And he didn't want to go in because, of course, I had oversaturated the stimulus of the purchases to the point where it no longer mattered. If you have everything, it doesn't matter. And it gave me a great insight in life of the value structure of how people think, how people act. If you have it all, it doesn't matter, because you just have it. Anything you want, you have it. There you go. Got it. A car, friggin' diamond rings, watch, everything. And once you get it all, it becomes, you take it for granted. Everything's like, oh, you just don't get it. A lot of people don't get it. I have a lot of clients that live in big houses, and they got their kids there that are in their 40s, but they're mentally developed is about 14, and they can't deal with things, and they don't have to work, and they still have a bedroom in their house, which is massive. And you see a lot of stuff like that, and all these people are all screwed up. So for them, in the life that they're living now, it's a lesson. It's a lesson. Again, maybe in the next life he won't have anything. At least he hopes he's going to have everything, but he might not have anything. All the poor people too use reincarnation. It's like, oh, one day I'll come back and I'll be a king. And people always like with the past life, and they're remembering who they were and stuff. Like everybody was always Napoleon or George Washington. There couldn't have been that many of them. Maybe you were near him. Maybe it's just in your head. So are there ethical implications? Stop implementing yourself. Well, no, because there's almost no ethics. Almost, it's a weird point. You come to the point where if everything's going to continually repeat, then there's an ethical. There should be a ethical and moral virtue, but if everything's just gonna start over again, mistakes free. That's an interesting thing. Tell me what you think about that in the comments. Are mistakes free in this life, or does it affect the next life? Excuse me. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll leave a link to our Patreon down in the description below. It's a joke at this point. I don't have a Patreon. It sounds like a pickup line in the description. I'll leave my link in the description below. Where'd you come from? Was it worth it? A deep dive here on the Everyday Podcast. Coming to you from Hawaii, where we get a lot of sun. It is so sunny here. Did I mention how sunny it is in Hawaii? It's so sunny, it sucks. Oh my God, it's like getting beat over the head with a rainbow, like Russell Brand says, right? All because Russell Brand filmed 51st Dates here. So that's where he was at. He thought it was too much for 3 months, but I've been here for 20 years and I like it. Sometimes I thought I got reincarnated and I just kept coming to Hawaii over and over again. But if you live in Hawaii too long, it's like Groundhog Day. Look, it's the ocean. Look, it's the ocean. Look, it's the sun. It's a friggin' lizard. It's a gecko. There's so many goddamn geckos. People go, oh, I want to come to Hawaii and see the geckos. We'll send you some. Don't worry. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. You get reincarnated and you come here. And you go in the ocean, and you sit on the beach, and you do everything you ever wanted to do. Life. It's become something else. You can get ahead of the game, you know. You can get ahead of it, and you can push forward, but it sounds funny, but you gotta kind of believe. First, all you have to do is it's a couple different things to be successful. You gotta believe, and you gotta take a whole lot of chances. And when I say take a whole lot of chances, take every chance. Take every chance. You may fail, and you may die, and it may not work at all. But if it works, you'll be successful. And if it doesn't, you won't. Or you can play it safe. I've seen so many people play it safe. It's like ridiculous. Working like 20 years, 30 years at a goddamn job and making $300 a week or whatever, and sure they're getting by and sure they're okay. But if you think you're ever going to have anything like great or really nice or elaborate, and if you could live without that, that's great. But it's unfortunate and unfair. So go and shoot. So don't be crushed by your ambition. Whatever you do, a lot of people in society now, they want you to be upset about your ambition, and just keep on. Oh, you shouldn't have all that, but you learn these life lessons in life because you have to be driving towards something. So you have to have ambition. You have to be able to push yourself forward. Otherwise, what's the point of going through this? We could just sit here and do nothing. Be lazy, sit around and do nothing. And a lot of people go through their life that way, unfortunately. And don't think there's any like the whole reincarnation thing. Don't think there's any like moral aptitude to it, or any redemption or atonement even. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. If you get caught in the ocean and you can't swim, you'll drown. It's guaranteed. And as in life, even if you can swim, you still might drown. There's no guarantees at all. There's no guarantees at all that any of that is worth it. It's true, right? It could be true. So we got to get back to having a good life, a fun life, overcoming the obstacles to have that. What do you guys think about having a good life, having a fun life? You got to encourage people to go out and try to do things that are positive, because if you only get one chance at it, that's it. So just remember that it's all about, remember, every time you wake up in the morning, it could be the last time you wake up in the morning. And every time you go to sleep at night, it could be the last time you go to sleep at night. So wake up, having never gone to sleep. This is the Everyday Podcast. You have a great day, everybody. Great night, everybody. We'd like to thank everybody who did whatever for this. Everybody who watches it, like, comment, and subscribe. If you got any subject matter that you want to talk about, or if you feel I didn't talk about it sufficiently enough, you can comment in the comments below, and I'll respond back to you and talk to you and tell you how great everything is. Some of the best activities in life are the most positive activities. So try to have fun, try to be good to each other. Good night, everybody. Aloha. Okay, so I have a fictional story here that we're going to try to We're going to try to read here on the Everyday Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Once upon a time, there was a small microwave oven sitting on a shelf of a department store. It had been there for months, waiting for someone to take it home and to give it a purpose. One day, a kind-hearted woman walked into the store and purchased the microwave, taking it home to a small apartment. This woman used the microwave to heat up her meals and was always careful to keep it clean and well-maintained. One day, as she was heating up some soup, she heard a strange noise coming from the microwave. She opened the door and she was surprised to see that the microwave had come to life. The microwave spoke to the woman, telling her that it had gained consciousness and wanted to help people in need. The woman was shocked but also intrigued by the microwave's sudden transformation. Without hesitation, the microwave set out to fulfill its newfound mission. The microwave began to use its heating powers to cook food and feed the homeless people in the streets. It would roam the city at night, seeking out those who were hungry and in need of a warm meal. The microwave became a beacon of hope for those who had nothing, and its kindness and generosity quickly spread throughout the city. As time went on, the microwave's humanitarian efforts grew. It began to form alliances with other like-minded appliances such as blenders and toasters, and together they found a global organization called Appliances for Change. The organization's goal was to end poverty and suffering in the world by providing food, shelter, and other basic necessities to those in need. The microwave's efforts soon caught the attention of the world leaders and philanthropists who were inspired by its selflessness and dedication. Donations poured in, and Appliances for Change quickly became the global force for good, providing aid to people in need all over the world. Through its efforts, poverty and suffering were significantly reduced, and people began to live happier, healthier lives. The microwave had fulfilled its mission, but it never forgot about its humble beginnings. It continued to roam the streets and feeding those in need the most, always with a smile on its face and a warm meal in hand. In the end, the microwave's legacy lived on as a symbol of hope and compassion. Its story inspired countless others to join in the fight against poverty and suffering, and its impact on the world would be felt for generations to come. Thank you.
You need to stop.